Good morning, friends. I'm not a life coach, I'm not a therapist, I'm a mom. I just want to make sure that I preface this information with the fact that there is no real one book that you can go through as an ex-Jehovah's Witness. They don't have ex-Jehovah's Witness therapy books. I hope they do one day. I hope they get that taken care of one day. Somebody comes up with that. I'm very grateful that in my experience in life, I broke the chain of alcoholism. I married a man that was not an alcoholic, and he was a very independent and critical thinker, and I am so very grateful because I would have continued to be in an organization that was caustic, and I'm so very grateful that I broke that chain, and both me and my husband don't drink. One, I can't drink for medical reasons. And two, my husband found an outlet that saved him, and that was his biking through all of this. So I'm very grateful that I don't have to worry about my husband drinking or physically abusing us, my girls and I. So I just want to make sure that I preface that before I read this because it's pretty deep today. And so there you go. Courage to Change, April 15th. Many of us come to AlAnon hoping to find answers to the questions that plague us. Should I leave the alcoholic? What about the financial, sexual, medical, legal, and emotional problems? How can I stop abusive behavior? There are as many legitimate options as there are members, and AlAnon's position is that we must each find answers that are right for us. The one exception is a life-threatening or violent situation. In this case, AlAnon suggests putting first things first, ensuring the safety of ourselves and our children. Perhaps this means leaving money and keys in a safe place so that we can get out in an emergency, or calling the police, or arranging to stay with a friend, if only for today. We learn that we deserve to be safe. Today's reminder. In AlAnon, we don't make anyone's choices for them, but we do offer advice of a different kind. We suggest attending AlAnon meetings, finding a sponsor, and reaching out by phone. We advise our members to practice the steps, slogans, and traditions, and to incorporate these principles into every aspect of our lives. This kind of advice helps us to find answers that we can live with. The quote is from The Dilemma of the Alcoholic Marriage. Quote, "When I concentrate on my personal progress, the difficulties over which I have no control will iron themselves out." End quote. I'll read that again. When I concentrate on my personal progress, the difficulties over which I have no control will iron themselves out. Courage to Change. Affirmations for the Inner Child, April 15th. It's on spirituality. I am healing from the inside out. As a child of an alcoholic, I tend to view God in the same way I viewed my parents, as violent, capricious, critical, and judgmental. I grew up with the notion that I had to do a lot of begging and praying just to be heard. I truly believed that if I was not perfect, I would be punished. I grew up spiritually bankrupt. I experienced a vast emptiness that cried to be filled up. In my desperation, I turned to food, drugs, sex, and relationships to provide me with a sense of completeness. After years of pain, I realized there was no quick fix. Today, I realize that codependency is, in part, a spiritual illness that needs to be healed from the inside out. In recovery, I find spirituality stems from self-love. As I learn to reparent my inner child, I slowly begin to experience the godlike qualities of joy, beauty, freedom, and unconditional love. Now I have faith that I am well on my way to wholeness. Affirmations for the inner child. It's very hard to be able to heal quickly. My journey has only been 6 months. It's quite interesting because of all the crazy around us. And I'm real grateful that I can do this at my own pace and to be gentle with myself. I'm learning to be gentle with myself. This is not an easy process, and it doesn't go quickly. And so I'm realizing that. And I'm very grateful that I have books like these to help me remember that I stayed in a very abusive organization. And as a child, I grew up in an abusive household. So my father was an alcoholic, and my mother was codependent, and she was the rager in the family, unfortunately. And you realize all these things through the process of understanding, your therapy. And I think because I saw such an abusive relationship growing up, it was so much easier for me to stay in an abusive and caustic organization. And I am grateful that someone loved me enough to stay with me. And so I'm very grateful to my husband because he didn't give up. He didn't give up on me. And our brains can rewire. Our brains can develop in a different way. And all of that is fascinating to me. How our brains can get healthy again. Our bodies can get healthy again. So I know that we're living right now on a global level where we've never had anything like this happen to us before when it comes to this event that's happening. I just want to encourage you to remember that to take it just one day at a time. And for me, I don't even think it's a day. I think it's a minute, because it's so hard to retrain my brain to think positively over things that are happening around us. And I think when I hear other people's fears too, it becomes very frightening, because we all kind of grew up in that Armageddon mindset. And like I say, I don't listen too much because it's overwhelming. And I will listen with my husband to Lloyd from time to time. But discussion is really important, to talk it out. And even so, especially with the current information that's coming out from the organization right now. Yeah, it's so triggering. So I just encourage you to, do the meditation. And if you pray. I listen to, on YouTube, they have a 3-hour meditation song where you can just listen to the birds in the background, and it's music in the background, and it just helps so much to just be able to have a clear mind and not be fearful of the things around me that are happening. That really helps. And it'll be interesting to see how this affects society. And I hope your families are doing well, and that you're healthy, and that if you're not, that you're being thought of. And I hope, I wish and send healing, healthy thoughts to you and your families, because I know it's hard, and the human experience is not easy when difficulties happen. It's hard to process them and then get back up and to keep going. So, yeah, kudos for just listening and not giving up. So I really do believe we're all in this together, and seeing my process and listening to others. I will spend time from time to time listening to other experiences. It helps. But I can't do it for too long. And I know that writing my feelings down really help. And sometimes it's really hard to face those feelings. So, yeah, it's a process that takes some time, and it doesn't go away. You have to really sit with them and feel them out. I know when my dad killed himself, I went through a period of real deep mourning, and I had to go through that. I noticed that when in my therapy sessions with others that didn't, and maybe just self-medicated. They took drugs, they went to drinking, their marriages fell apart, and it was because they just didn't feel that intense pain. And I had to sit through it and feel that pain in order for me to get over, to try. And I don't feel like I have ever gotten over the suicide. I was there. I was present. I was there. And it's tragic for anyone who finds a parent or a sibling or a friend when they find them. It's hard. And you just have to kind of sit with your feelings, write them down. And that process of grieving is very important. And the same with leaving a very caustic organization. It's the process of grieving. You're grieving your friends. You're grieving your family. You're grieving the thoughts that came with being in it. You know, your whole belief system. And you feel lost. And that's a process of grieving that you have to get through that. You have to go through that. And I saw it with my husband. I saw that grieving. And fortunately, I have someone that I can look to as being a good human being. And I saw that he was a genuine guy. He was a good person. I mean, any witnesses that ever met my husband, when he was no longer attending, any witnesses who met him really liked him. They liked him. One sister said, he's not an apostate. But, you know, it's funny that witnesses, they consider an apostate. I don't know. What do they consider us with, like, horns? I know that I'm considered the devil. I know I am, especially now because I've done this. I don't understand. We're good people. People who've left are good people. And I think you struggle with that when you leave. I saw good men in my life. And I saw good men. My dad, even though he was an alcoholic. And yes, my mother was a rager. But they came from abusive relationships. And it's generational. And I get it. My dad lived through horror. And he married a woman that was someone he was used to in his life. She was tough. She was a tough mama. And his mother was tough to deal with. So I would say she bordered on evil, that woman. She was not a good mom. And so there's a healing process that has to be done for all of mankind, I feel. It's generational abuse. When you have generational abuse, it's difficult to get through problems. So I don't hold that against my parents. I try and have compassion for them. And I think that comes with time, it comes with age, it comes with experience. I don't know how to explain it any other way. I'm sure I'm missing parts of what I wanted to say, but that's basically it. I hope this helps you on your healing journey. I know it's tough right now and tough for all of the world. So I send healing, healthy thoughts. And I want you to follow your bliss and be good humans.